I used to be the girly that would never sleep at night, that would overthink every single conversation, that felt chest pains from anxiety. I was on the quest to improve my mental health. So today I'm going to talk about how Jiu Jitsu helped relieve my anxiety. In the beginning, as I've said on a couple of my other videos, when meditation wasn't good enough, when I felt so uncomfortable in my body that I just couldn't sit to meditate. Obviously, the intention with yoga is actually to remove any discomfort from the body. So then eventually at the end of yoga, you can sit to meditate comfortably because you've kind of released any tension from the body. I did not know this in the beginning because first I was introduced to meditation through therapy when I was on the wait list for therapy at university. Then I went to the classes and then eventually I went on to Headspace myself because also all the self-help books pointed towards meditation as well. But I did not know that you practice yoga, release the tension from the body so that you can sit peacefully in meditation so that your mind isn't thinking about, oh, that pain in my lower back, that pain in the hip, the tension in my shoulders. That's why I probably felt so uncomfortable to sit to meditate if you're still carrying tension in the body. But in the beginning, I think when you're super anxious, I know how uncomfortable it can feel, even if you've practiced yoga to sit to meditate, because you just need to kind of release the energy in some way. And that's why I feel that movement is so important. And for me, I've got a sporting background. I did a degree in sports at Durham University. I've always played when I was in school, when I was in college. And I found the benefit of exercising and using exercise as a form of release because I also started the gym when I was like 16 years old as well. Or maybe younger actually, 13 years old. Movement and going to the gym, whether that's running or doing some sort of exercise, is super important because without practicing yoga, the physical asana in yoga, it's still putting the attention back on the body. And through cardio, you're increasing your breathing rate and things like that. So although it might not be yoga specifically, it is kind of a form of yoga because you're bringing the attention back to the body and you're regulating the body by expending some energy. This is the key component in Jiu Jitsu as well. And by learning the techniques, it's like you need bodily awareness to listen to the instructor and then to be able to take that technique that he explains for a couple of minutes and then to try it on your partner. So you need awareness of your specific body parts to be able to execute that technique correctly. So not only in sparring when you're doing the rolls, you're expending energy and you get that form of release as well. Like specifically in jiu-jitsu, if you're putting on a submission, I think that's also like controlled release of anger because you're not hurting your opponent, but you're also getting like a hit because it's getting the high off hitting the move in sparring and maybe submitting someone, but also like kind of like the release of energy because you get to win, put on a submission without hurting anyone. And I really, really think it's a healthy form of release or a healthy form of aggression. And I've said this before, but I actually had really, really poor emotional regulation when I was younger. People just don't know how to emotionally regulate. I used to get angry and not know how to express that. So I think for jiu-jitsu being that kind of release, so not only are you exercising, but you're socializing with friends and you also kind of get to fuck them up a little bit without hurting them, which is a healthy release of anger. So not only do you need your focus, attention and bodily awareness, but you also get to release that anger as well. So I think physically that's how it improves. That's how it improves because it's the same as yoga essentially. Yoga is moving with the breath to bring the attention back to the body, and you're also expending energy through doing that. And it also links to emotional regulation as well slightly because even in training, people say they're going to go light and then they don't actually go light in the rounds and then they just go crazy. This shows where each individual is at. It depends on your ability to restrain yourself from maybe going a little bit harder if your training partner is starting to push a little bit, or do you have the ability to just remain calm and keep the pace steady even though your partner is going like 100%, even when they said they would go 40%. That also shows in training, but I feel this is so important when it comes to competition as well. I experienced this more recently, probably because I'm a little bit more conscious of it. I haven't competed for 2 years, and then I went back to comp in Australia over, well, British summertime in July. Didn't do very well because I didn't really realise the level of competition. I kind of just wanted to get it over and done with, my first comp back after 2 years. And also I wasn't too confident on my feet. The girls literally played the game like they do at Euros. Like, they're playing to the rules of the game, essentially. It was winter in Melbourne at the time, and I feel like my nervous system was in a state of dysregulation because quite a lot of drama going on in my personal life. So my point is, in comparison to when I was competing at Brits, which was more towards Melbourne spring and coming out of winter, I was so much happier. My life was a lot stable and my performance was way better. And also I've competed at Brits before, which I think helps in terms of, you know, what to expect. I think I've competed 3 times before there. But also I think my state of my nervous system was just in such better state, and I think it shows that I was more regulated, I was more calm, just completely helped me perform better, essentially. Even though I do think that the level is higher in Australia, 100%, but I still think I competed way better because also I stood up as well, because I was a little bit more confident to stand up, because that didn't work for me over the summer. I basically sat down and then she passed my guard and then I didn't recover and she just was keeping her legs back. So let's not sit, because otherwise people just overpower you and sit on you and sit on top of you and then you can't recover. I think I got away with that a lot of white belt, and then it's just not working at blue. You need to change your game plan, Lucy. I think if you have a dysregulated nervous system, even your personal life, the stress in your personal life impacts how you turn up, whether it's jiu-jitsu or not, like just in daily life. Jiu-jitsu helps you learn to regulate yourself, because I wanted to make sure for Brits that I went in better than I went in July. And also with competing, I just think, what am I doing sometimes when I'm 31 years old and I'm like, why am I still competing? And I think naturally your body just responds to it. Of course, I haven't been competing for 2 years, but I do think that I'm like, you will get better as time goes on again. But I do think sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I putting this stress on my body? But at the same time, I love it. I always improve. And why have I trained for 4 years if I'm not going to compete? And I always think like competitions are literally the best things for your own self-improvement. Like, for example, I competed in July and was like, that was a mess. We need to get back to like normal. And then I performed a little bit better in December. If you get on the competition mats, there's honestly potentially nothing worse than the anxiety that goes through your body when you're about to have a match. I think even just naturally, of the unknown of what's going to happen in the match, and, you know, making sure you're on weight, making sure you have everything prepared, your food's prepared. It's up there with one of the toughest things to do, because a lot of people don't compete because of it, which I completely understand. But me being competitive and very sporty all of my life, I was like, there's no way I'm not competing, and there's no way that I'm going to let that anxiety get the better of me. I have an element of like type A. In the first year, I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, probably because my mental health wasn't so good then, as whereas now can go without. Like, I'm currently in Sri Lanka teaching yoga on a daily basis just for a little break and to get some more teaching hours in. So I am able to survive without it. But in the beginning, I was like, no, I need to go to jiu-jitsu. I had my friends there, and it was an element of feeling like I'm progressing, even though my mental health felt low, and I was a bit lost in life, to be honest. I didn't really know the direction of my life, but I did know that I wanted to travel. I also have friends all over the world now as well, because I've trained jiu-jitsu in multiple countries. Jiu-jitsu also brings back an element of play, which I think is super good for your inner child. Sometimes you probably don't get that from life. I think you don't get the social aspect of it. You don't get to play every day, or some people don't involve it in their everyday life. The element of testing yourself and constantly growing, I really, really love that. And I think since I realised I can improve my mental health, when I finally went on medication, therapy, and started meditation, I actually realised, like, I don't have to live like this. And then once I started to see improvements, I was like, can't get enough of like the journey of just continual improvement, essentially. So healing my anxiety was like the first thing that made me me realize and get enjoyment out of the growth. So yeah, just to recap on why Jiu-Jitsu healed my anxiety is the presence that you need in terms of listening to the instructions, the bodily awareness, where you're putting your body, the energy expenditure in the rounds, and also the release and emotional regulation. So releasing that energy even without hurting your partner sometimes. Also emotional regulation for trying to go light in rounds when you say you'll go light, and also for competition as well, so that you perform your best. And just the element of play as well, because you technically just play fighting with someone. I really don't think that we get that anymore, in the sense that the world's so disconnected and we're all online, and like it's close contact and you do need to be a certain type of person to have a close contact sport, but I do think that a healthy element to it, play fighting, is fun. There is also nothing more satisfying than learning a technique and then hitting it in sparring. So when I was down in the dumps in 2021 to 2022, there was nothing more satisfying than learning a technique and then hitting it in sparring. I actually got a takedown on my first ever competition. Just call me a wrestler now. But this is all I wanted to talk about today. I've gone through some brief things as to how Jiu-Jitsu healed my anxiety. If you've got any questions or you want to give it a go, then just hit me up, because we love Jiu-Jitsu over here. I'll see you on the next one.